Your brain was built to keep you alive for 200,000 years. And right now, in less than 3 seconds, it's about to get completely outsmarted by a 19-year-old app designer with a psychology degree and an /B testing dashboard. Here's what nobody tells you. You don't scroll because you're weak. You don't scroll because you lack discipline. You scroll because the exact same instinct that once saved your ancestors from a lion hiding in the grass is now being triggered 50 times a minute by a rectangle of glass in your hand. And by the end of this video, you're going to understand something that maybe 1% of people who use these apps every single day actually understand, including, probably, some of the people who built them. Here's the plan for the next 2 hours, and I mean this, don't skip ahead, because every part builds on the one before it. We're going to look at the actual evolutionary wiring being hijacked. We're going to walk through the specific design tricks, one by one, built into your favorite app on purpose. We're going to bring in a 500-year-old philosopher whose ideas explain, almost perfectly, why this works on you, and then go even deeper into a second layer of that philosophy most people never talk about. We're going to look at what this is actually costing you, and it's far more than time. We're going to look at what it's doing to your identity, your relationships, your ability to sit with yourself in silence. Then I'm going to give you an actual system, not tips, a full system, to take your brain back piece by piece. And I'm going to close with something that might be the most important few minutes of this entire video. Let's go. Let's start with something most people get completely wrong. Your brain doesn't have a short video setting. It doesn't have an Instagram module. What it has is something called the orienting response, a survival reflex that's existed in humans for millions of years. Any sudden movement, any change, any flash of color or sound, and your brain automatically redirects attention toward it instantly without your permission. This kept your ancestors alive. A rustle in the bushes might be the wind. It might also be a predator. The humans who paid attention to every little change survived. The ones who didn't get to pass on their genes. You are, quite literally, descended from the most easily distracted humans who ever lived, because in the wild, distraction meant survival. Now here's the problem. Every single short video is engineered, frame by frame, to trigger that exact reflex over and over every few seconds. Fast cuts. Sudden zooms, a voice that changes pitch right when your attention might drift, a jump cut exactly at the 2-second mark because that's roughly when interest naturally dips. None of this is random. This is frame-level engineering, tested on millions of users, refined constantly, all designed to fire your ancient predator detection system again and again. Except there's no lion. There's no reward. There's just the next clip. And here's the part that should genuinely unsettle you. This reflex doesn't get tired the way willpower does. You can't out-discipline a reflex. Telling yourself, I'll just watch one, is like telling yourself you won't flinch at a loud noise. The system isn't playing against your intelligence. It's bypassing it completely and going straight for the oldest, most automatic part of your brain. The part that existed long before language, long before logic, long before you could ever reason your way out of it. Let's go a layer deeper because this is where it gets interesting. Your brain runs on something psychologists call a threat and reward loop. 2 systems constantly negotiating. One system scans for danger. The other scans for opportunity, food, connection, status. In the ancestral world, these 2 systems worked in balance because opportunities and threats were rare and spaced apart. You'd see danger, react, then have long stretches of calm to recover. Your nervous system was built around that rhythm: spike, then rest, spike, then rest. Short-form video destroys that rhythm completely. Every single video is a tiny spike. A joke, a shock, a reveal, a wait-for-it moment. Each one fires a small burst of arousal in your nervous system. But there's no rest in between because the next spike is already loading. You are essentially keeping your nervous system in a low-grade state of alert for hours at a time, without ever noticing, because each individual spike feels so small and so harmless. That's why you can watch shorts for 45 minutes and stand up feeling more wired and more exhausted than when you sat down, not relaxed, not entertained, just depleted. You didn't rest. You just sat still while your nervous system ran a marathon. That's the hijack, laid out fully. Your phone isn't competing with your willpower. It's skipping willpower entirely, going straight for instinct, and then keeping your nervous system in a state it was never designed to sustain. And that's still just the surface. In the next part, I'm going to show you the actual playbook, The specific mechanisms, one by one, that turn this instinct into a habit you physically cannot put down. Mechanism 1. The infinite scroll. Before infinite scroll existed, every app had a natural stopping point. You'd reach the bottom of a page, click next, and in that half second of loading, your brain had a tiny window to ask itself, do I actually want to keep doing this? That half second was enough for millions of people to close the app and move on with their day. Infinite scroll was designed specifically to remove that half second. There's no bottom of the page. There's no next button. There's no natural stopping point at all, which means your brain never gets the chance to ask the question in the first place. You're not choosing to keep watching. You're simply never being given a moment where stopping was ever presented as an option. Mechanism 2. The variable reward schedule. And I want to go deeper into this than I did before, because this is arguably the single most powerful psychological tool ever built into a piece of software. In the 1950s, a psychologist ran an experiment with pigeons. One group got a food pellet every single time they pressed a lever, predictable, consistent. Another group got a pellet at random, unpredictable intervals. Which group pressed the lever more? The random group by an enormous margin. Predictable reward creates satisfaction and then stopping. Unpredictable reward creates obsession because the brain can never relax into, I know what's coming. It has to keep checking. Short-form video apps are built on exactly this principle. Some videos are boring. Some are incredible. You never know which one is coming next, and that uncertainty is precisely what keeps your thumb moving, video after video after video, long after you meant to stop. Mechanism 3. Social validation loops. Every like, every comment, every share count is deliberately hidden for a few seconds after you post, then revealed gradually. This isn't a technical limitation. It's intentional pacing. Because a slowly climbing number creates repeated small hits of anticipation, instead of one single hit all at once. Your brain treats social approval almost identically to the way it treats food or safety, as something tied to survival. Because for most of human history, being liked by your tribe genuinely was a matter of survival. These apps didn't invent your need for approval. They just built a machine that farms it, second by second, more efficiently than any human interaction ever could. Mechanism 4. Autoplay and zero-friction continuation. Watching used to require a decision. Press play. Choose the next episode. Choose the next video. Every one of those choices was a moment where your rational brain got a vote. Autoplay removes the decision entirely. The next video simply starts. Multiply that by hundreds of videos in a session, and you've removed hundreds of decision points where you might have stopped, all without you ever noticing a single one of them was taken away. Mechanism 5. Algorithmic personalization, which is really just a politer word for this app knows you better than you know yourself. Every second you spend on a video, every replay, every pause, every pixel your eyes might glance toward is data. Over weeks and months, the algorithm builds a model of your psychology that is, in many ways, more accurate than your own self-awareness. It knows what makes you pause a beat longer. It knows what makes you replay. It knows what topic keeps you scrolling on your worst days, when you're tired, lonely, anxious, or bored. And it serves you exactly that content at exactly those moments, not because it cares about you, but because those are the moments you're most vulnerable to staying. Put all 5 of these together. The missing stopping point, the unpredictable reward, the drip-fed social validation, the removed decision points, and the personalized targeting. And you don't have an app anymore. You have a system that was reverse-engineered from human psychology itself, built by teams who study behavioral science professionally, tested on billions of users, and refined daily based on exactly what keeps you there longest. And here's the uncomfortable question this leaves us with. If an entire system was built deliberately to override your instincts and your decision-making, is there a name for that kind of strategy? Is there a framework in human history for using someone's psychology against their own interests to maintain control over them? There is, and it's 500 years old. That's exactly where we're headed next. In the year 1513, an Italian writer named Niccolo Machiavelli wrote a short political manual called The Prince. It wasn't philosophy in the traditional sense. No talk of virtue for its own sake. No idealism about how rulers should behave. It was essentially a manual on how power actually works in practice, stripped of all the comforting illusions. And the reason we're talking about it today is simple. Almost every principle in that book, written for kings and rulers 5 centuries ago, is now embedded, almost line for line, into the design of the app on your home screen. Here's the first principle. Machiavelli wrote that it's far safer for a ruler to be feared than loved if he cannot be both, because love is maintained by a bond of gratitude, which people, being selfish, break whenever it benefits them, whereas fear is maintained by a dread of punishment, which never fails. Now think about FOMO, the fear of missing out. That anxious pull you feel when you haven't opened an app in a few hours, the fear that something important happened without you, that your friends moved on without you, that you're falling behind on some invisible social currency. That's not affection keeping you on the app. That's a manufactured fear, engineered precisely because fear is a far more reliable lever of control than love ever could be. Here's the second principle. Machiavelli argued that a ruler should understand the psychology of the people he governs so completely that he can predict their behavior before they've even decided it themselves. This is exactly what modern recommendation algorithms do. They don't just react to what you've watched, they predict, with startling accuracy, what you're about to want to watch next, sometimes before you consciously know it yourself. That's not customer service. That's Machiavellian statecraft, just running on a server instead of in a royal court. Here's the third principle, and this one is the sharpest. Machiavelli wrote that the ends justify the means, that a ruler should be judged not by how he achieved his goals, but by whether he achieved them at all. For a modern platform, the end is a single metric: time spent on the app. Everything else is negotiable in service of that one number. Your sleep, your focus, your relationships, your mental clarity, none of these are considered failures by the system, because none of them were ever the system's goal in the first place. The system succeeded exactly as designed. Every single time you lose 2 hours you didn't mean to lose. Here's the fourth principle, and this is the one people miss most often. Machiavelli warned that people rarely resist a takeover of their freedom if it happens gradually enough, and if it's disguised as something they seem to be choosing for themselves. He wrote that a clever ruler never appears to be seizing power. He lets the people believe every decision is their own. That's exactly what makes this system so effective. Nobody forced you to open the app. You chose to. You chose it again, and again, and again. Except every one of those choices was engineered, tested, and refined by people whose entire job was to make sure you choose it. The illusion of free choice is the most powerful tool in the entire system, because a person who believes they're choosing freely never thinks to resist. So here's where this leaves us. This isn't a story about evil villains twirling a mustache, plotting to ruin your life. It's something colder than that, and honestly more unsettling. It's just a very old, very effective playbook for controlling human behavior, applied with modern precision, at a scale no king in Machiavelli's time could have ever imagined. Millions of people, every single day, willingly handing over hours of their one finite life, not because they're weak, but because they're facing a system built by people who read the oldest rulebook on power ever written, and applied it perfectly. And that raises the real question we need to sit with before we go any further. If the ruler in this story is the algorithm, then who exactly is the subject? Is it really you? Or is there a second layer to this Machiavellian story that most people never think to ask about? The layer where you might actually be playing a role in this game too, not just as a subject, but as something else entirely. That's exactly where we're going next. If everything you just heard made you look at your phone differently, even a little, don't just scroll past it. Drop the word awake in the comments right now so I know this actually landed. And if you want the full system, the one that actually breaks this cycle, not just theory, but a real day-by-day method to take your attention back, hit subscribe and turn on notifications, because that video is coming next, and it's the one that actually matters most. Don't let this be another video you watched and forgot in an hour.